Hi everyone. In this video, we will be going over the settings for the distressed effect used in Digital Factory. With this, you can easily add effects to make your design more interesting and at the same time reduce the amount of ink used in the process. To access the distressed effect, right-click on your job in the queue, select Effects, and then click on Distressed. This will open the Distressed Effect dialog with the preview on the left and the settings on the right, starting in Basic mode in the main tab. At the top are the sliders for the four effects: image desaturation, tint color, preset masks, and generated texture. Image desaturation will desaturate the image, which means the image will move closer to grayscale, which is what happens as color fades over time. The slider goes from -100 to 0, with -100 being grayscale and 0 being full color and no change. Tint color applies a tint color like a monotone effect in Photoshop, but it overlays this color over the whole image. You can select the color with the tint color option below. The range is 0 to 100, with 0 being no effect and 100 making the tint color cover the whole image in a solid fill. A typical color used to give an aged look is reddish brown. Preset masks will apply another bitmap image to add noise, which can give the effect of cracks, scratches, and general noise, adding to the deterioration or aging of the image. As before, the range is 0 to 100, with 0 not being applied and 100 having the maximum effect. You can select the bitmap to use from a range of presets below. You can then choose to apply this mask using either its light or darker colors. The threshold slider controls the point in lighter or darker colors from the image that will be used. If you select threshold light colors, then you would typically need to decrease the threshold slider. As you reduce this, you will see more of the mask come through. If you use threshold dark colors, then increasing the threshold will display more of the mask. The threshold slider works depending on the radio button selected. The scale slider will scale the bitmap used for the pattern from 0.5 to 10. The rotation slider will work as expected. It rotates the bitmap pattern affecting the image. 0 is the original orientation, and as the value increases, the image rotates counterclockwise around the top left corner. Lastly is the generated texture slider, and as before, the range is 0 to 100, with 0 not being applied and 100 having the maximum effect. There are several controls to change the appearance of the generated texture. Click on the Generated Texture tab found to the right of the main tab near the top of the dialog. The generated textures are like preset masks, but instead of using a bitmap as the base for the effect, the pattern is created mathematically, adding a noise texture to the graphic in the form of streaks. The settings for this are in the form of horizontal streaks, vertical streaks, thickness, noise, scale size, and texture contrast. The horizontal streak slider measures from a value of 0, showing no streaks, to 100 with a large coverage of streaks. The same goes for vertical streaks, with the slider showing no coverage to a large coverage with vertical lines. The thickness slider has a range value from 1.0 to 5.0. The value of 1.0 leaves the lines with their initial generated size, and the maximum 5.0 creates heavier streaks. The noise slider adds speckles or dots to the overall pattern, and uses the values of 0 to 100. The value of 0 will show no speckles or dots. As the slider moves to 100, the number of speckles and dots increase to add to the overall noise of the image. The scale size slider goes from a value of 20 to 80, where 20 represents the smallest size, and as the slider moves up to 80, the size of the streaks increase. Finally, the texture contrast slider gives the streaks a harder or softer look. The soft look starts at the value of 0, and at the value of 100, the streaks will have a harder edge. When you change the mode from basic to advanced using the radio button found near the bottom right of the dialog, you will have more options to adjust for 3 of the main sliders. In the advanced mode for tint function, you can separately apply tints to highlights and shadows of your image. Select a color to use for highlights and a color to use for shadows. The opacity ratio is how these are applied. If you had areas that were white and areas that are black in your image, then when the ratio is 100, your white areas will become close to the color of the highlight, and black will stay black. If you change the ratio to -100, your black will become closer to the shadow color, and white will stay white. Transition can be used to fine-tune what is a highlight color and a shadow color. At -100, almost everything is treated as a shadow except white, and at 100, almost everything would be highlighted except black. The advanced features of preset mask consist of desaturation and blur. Desaturation will reduce the saturation of the preset mask image and make it closer to grayscale. Many of the masks are grayscale, so you will not notice this effect on all masks. Blur applies a blur to the mask image before applying it to the image, giving the preset mask a softer effect. The generated texture in advanced mode will have several controls added. These are streak stretch horizontal, streak stretch vertical, scale impact horizontal, scale impact vertical, scale fade horizontal, scale fade vertical, spatter size, spatter amount, and horizontal versus vertical fade. The streak stretch horizontal slider will increase or reduce the length of the horizontal streaks, whereas streak stretch vertical will increase or reduce the length of the vertical streaks. The scale impact horizontal and scale impact vertical sliders will add or reduce the weight of the streaks respectively. The scale fade horizontal and scale fade vertical sliders increase or decrease prominence of the horizontal and vertical streaks respectively. The spatter size slider controls the size of the noise applied to the streaks, where the splatter amount slider controls the strength of the splatter effect given to the streaks. Finally, the horizontal versus vertical fade affects the balance of the streaks. It starts with a value of 0, and when moved to the left to the limit of -100, the vertical strikes gradually disappear, and as the slider moves to the right to 100, the horizontal streaks gradually disappear. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you, hit the like button, and if you have any questions, please reach out to us at any time. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos covering all of CADLink's products.